Quakers believe that if you want to find out what God has to say, you need to listen. And so we spend a lot of time listening in quiet prayer. And that quiet prayer time, which can happen anytime, anywhere, is the heart of the Quaker religious experience.
If you are going to go into Quaker Meeting for the first time, first of all, congratulations. So walk in, sit down, be quiet. What to expect when you're there, besides that you're just go with the flow, is different things depending on where you are.
Unlike some other churches, you don't need to dress up with a suit and tie or a fancy dress. Most of the folks come in jeans, t-shirts, or shorts, t-shirts, whatever you're comfortable in.
So you're thinking about coming to meeting and you have children. You really need to know that you have to bring them. They may or may not enjoy themselves, but the community is going there. We're always so thrilled to have young people join us. They come and they're bringing their aliveness and their love and their genuineness. So please, bring them. They are welcome. So if you come into this space and you're looking for images or maybe words on the walls, some kind of direction, and you're going to notice that there isn't going to be any there. From the very beginning of Quakerism, it's about the inside. So it's about you not looking around you for that, but really going inward for your own wisdom, for your own piece of the divine that's been given to you.
Sometimes a worship room will look like a really old building with benches that have been sat on by thousands of Quakers over hundreds of years. And sometimes it will look like the basement of another local church. Something that's common to them is that people often will enter already in silence, find a place in the room, and sit down in silence. Anyone coming into the room can sit anywhere. There's not a right place or a wrong place to sit.
So before you go into meeting for worship for the first time, I'll tell you what I always told my kids when they were little every week before we went in, which is just remember when you go in to just sit down and listen for God, that God is here with us and this is a space to listen.
The first time I went to Quaker Meeting, I didn't know how to listen because I'd never listened in church before. I had to work on that process of figuring out, what am I listening for? Am I listening to myself? What's going on? What is everyone else listening to? And how does that affect the community and me?
So in that quietness, you walk in, you say, okay, everybody's sitting there quietly. When are the directions going to come? What am I going to do? Just follow suit. You sit down.
Just sit down and be in that space and feel the space and the people around you and open yourself as much as you can. Just continue to notice how you can be aware of all that's around you and all that's within you and how that's all connected to everybody else in the room.
It's called unprogrammed worship because there's no sermon, there's no hymns, no Bible readings, no prayers written out ahead of time. The whole idea of unprogrammed worship is to spend quiet time in prayer with our hearts and minds open to God.
If God has ever spoken, then God is still speaking. And expecting God to move through somebody, maybe through me, maybe not through me, maybe just internally and the message is just for me, maybe one that needs to be shared. And I think that is so provocative. It's provocative to say, there's no guidelines here. What can I want to know what I'm expecting. And I don't. I don't know what I'm expecting every Sunday, but I know that I'm expecting.
Sometimes during that quiet time, people will feel moved to speak. It might be just a couple of words, or it might be several minutes. And then there'll be some more quiet time, and maybe later on someone else will speak. They might continue what the first person says, or they might go on in a different direction.
We've had people dance a message. We've had people walk a message. We've had people sing a message, in addition to the usual standing up and giving a verbal message.
And it might just be like that for an hour. And then what to expect at the end, it'll be like it's just somehow it just started happening. Everyone will start shaking hands.
Which sort of signifies the changing from the spiritual to the secular worlds of sorts.
And then we'll all be aware that that's happening and we'll follow suit. So all this handshaking is going to happen in this greeting.
Generally, Quakers have a litany of announcements of various activities that are going on, what protests were involved in this time around, or what good organizations to be part of, or or what potlucks are happening, things like that. And then usually Quakers gather for coffee, tea, catch up with each other, see how things are going on throughout the week. And
particularly when I'm new to a community, I tend to want to kind of like sneak in and sneak out again. And I find that it's a good discipline for me, that often there's all of this community building conversation activity that happens after worship, which is like really an important part of the worship experience. Building connections with one another that make the worship richer and deeper.
And that's about it. That's a Quaker Meeting for Worship.